sacred learner of love. What a blessing it is when you allow the perfection, the enormity, the perfection is the only word that really fits. Perfection of finding your way and finding the way to be the learner. When most of humanity is believing in death, believing in fear, but it's the recognition that you have connected. You have connected, or else you wouldn't be here. To connect is to, even if it's for a second, that everything opens and you realize that there is another world, that there is another existence that is not in any way temporary, limited in any way. These are the elements that are so helpful to bring to your awareness daily, whether you call it gratitude or understanding or both. That there is a place for awe about where you are, where your awareness is, with very little effort. You can connect with the mysteries of the universe. Not all the mysteries of the universe, that would be like a bombardment, but even a tiny mystery is beyond the capacity of this illusion. The only thing that holds that perception of limitation in place is the fear of not being in the limitation. What you know, what you think you know, calls you to live in the limitation, discontent, and yet not wanting it to change. This is a very agreed on place that many beloveds live, the fear of the unknown, to stay in pain because of the fear of the unknown. We have all been there. Everyone has lived in that because it's part of the ego structure. But find that place within that refuses to accept limitation. This is not a pep talk. This is love. If you have in your prayer, when you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, that you affirm, I want to heal. I want to remember. I want to be transformed. And I want to learn to trust and trust and trust until every tiny particle of resistance finally drops. That prayer, help me. Help me to trust. Help me to not be satisfied with self-made ideas. And let your mind and heart just go into God's divine alchemy. There is a place of surrender within that you give your heart. You want it to melt. You want to melt. And you give yourself to that melting. When you give yourself to melting, it's a very deep concentration. Like everything else disappears. And you just sink and feel that allowing within you, not holding anything away from the melting, just sinking. With that prayer, I want to trust. Help me to learn to trust. Help me to let go of all ideas of separation, limitation, differences. Student, learner, receiver of the divine. And dwell on that blessing. And then offer that from that blessed place, offer it to all of humanity, that they join you, that you will do whatever to open those doorways. I was called to this book of Psalms again. Translation of these Psalms is very precise and very much in honesty, more than likely because the original was in honesty, but they carried that honesty into the English translation. I thank you and praise you, Lord, for saving me from seeming disaster. I cried out, help me, dear God. I'm frightened and I've lost my way. You came to me in the darkness. You breathed life into me. You plucked me from the abyss and you healed me. And I remembered wholeness. You rescued me from despair. You turned my lament into dancing. You lifted me up. You took off my mourning and you clothed me with joy. Sing, you who love him. Thank him from the depth of your heart. For though he may seem to be distant, in your recognition, you find him. Tears may linger when night falls, but joy arrives with the dawn. I thank you and praise you. Don't be afraid of saying, I'm frightened and I've lost my way. It's not like saying it when you're not, but when you're battling with nervousness or upset of any kind, I'm frightened and I've lost my way. That's what's going on when something is upsetting. Losing your way is not permanent, but God does not want you to suffer. And when you lose your way, and all that that means is that you're just not here. You've gone back to the past because it's the only place we can go when we're lost. So we come back to the present. And coming back to the present is almost not true because so little time is spent in the present for the ego. Going back and forth between the future and the past, you're skipping over the reality of here, now. Here, now, there are no thoughts of stories or opinions. Here, now. There can't even be an opinion because it's just love. What do you do with your mind? That's what this life, this incarnation is. What do you do with your mind? It's your training. It was my training. It's learning that this is for learning. And you're here in this magnificent training, learning the truth so that you can be here in love as love. But sometimes saying, help me, dear God, I'm frightened and I've lost my way. And you came to me. When I asked, you came. To be able to say those words to yourself, to go into the closet with God and connect with those words, like a long lost friend that you just found, and the friend turns into everything, everything that's real, that nothing exists besides love, and that is God. I look deep into my heart, to the core where wisdom arises. Wisdom comes from the unnameable and unifies all of heaven. The unnameable is always with you, shining from the depths of your heart. This peace will keep you untroubled, even in the greatest pain. When you find him present within you, you find truth at every moment. He will guard you from all wrongdoing. He will guide your feet on his path. He will temper your fears with patience. He will crown your old age with fulfillment. And dying, you will leave your body as effortlessly as a sigh. I look deep into my heart to the core. In the beginning, when you are opening your relationship with love itself, it can be a place of caution. And it makes sense that there might be caution in the beginning. But there comes a time, and everyone has to feel it within, that the caution is no longer valid, even as a stopgap, because it's playing a game. What if you spent a week reading everything that you could or listening to everything that you could that was about how you were loved by God, to just listen and soak in by means of words until you even the words fall away because there's a stream of love that is coming through you that's teaching you and speaking to you. You just kick-started it with truth in the written word or the spoken word. How much God loves you. If you took walking into a room, and as you walk into the room, everyone turns and lights up when you walk in the room. Now take that sensation, that possibility, and multiply it by a million, 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 million. And that's the love. The relationship with caution keeps you from that ecstatic love. It's ecstatic. And it may feel like you'll burst into pieces, and you will. The ego will turn to pieces. Let yourself go beyond the caution, the control, because that's how caution works, using the idea that you have control. But it's also where all the pain usually comes from. Trying to control is not only painful, but the end result is never joyous. Sometimes there's a relief that you didn't get annihilated or something, but the caution, the control, it's just time to let it go in your leap of faith into the hands of God. Feel your tenderness. I feel your tenderness. I feel your tenderness of your ever loving hand. Feel your tenderness. Feel your tenderness. Feel the tenderness from deep within. I feel your mercy, Lord. I feel your mercy, Lord. I feel your mercy, Lord, of your ever loving hand. I feel the mercy, Lord. I feel the mercy, Lord. I feel the mercy, Lord, deep within. I see your beauty, Lord. I see your beauty, Lord. I see your beauty, Lord, of your ever loving hand. I see your beauty, Lord. I see your beauty, Lord. I see the beauty, Lord, from deep within. I sense your truth, O Lord. I sense your truth, O Lord. I sense your truth, O Lord, of your ever loving hand. I sense your truth, O Lord. I sense your truth, O Lord. I sense your truth, O Lord, deep within. Deep within, there's no caution. There's no comparisons. There are no differences. Love can have no differences. Sense your truth. And there's no caution there. We should make all spiritual talk simple. God is trying to sell you something, but you don't want to buy it. That is what your suffering is. Your fantastic haggling, your manic screaming over the price. This is the caution. Haggling over the price, bargaining. There is a long tradition in the spiritual journey of trying to bargain. Not consciously, really. It's more of an unconscious thing that the caution says, I want to keep all my attachments. So I'm going to bargain. I'll pray every day, but I want to keep all my attachments. Now, when you say it out loud, it's kind of silly and maybe even can conjure up as a joke. But the ego does a lot of bargaining. And the thing with the bargaining is that it never works because there's nothing to bargain for. Whatever you choose, if it's part of the world, it's the ego's not going to fulfill anything with it. You are the light and the perfection of God that has no differences or comparisons that you can make in any way. Feel the mercy, feel the tenderness, feel the truth, see the beauty. And when you find yourself haggling for bargains, give it back to God so that it can be thrown into the fire and no longer put yourself through any misery. Holy, holy, holy. Don't settle for a day of knowing. Give yourself to the day of singing, of not knowing, and of opening the heart. It's just to keep coming back to this moment. There's nothing to do, just resting in God and being here with love and no bargains. God is trying to sell you something and you don't want to buy. You can all look back and see resistance. But if you see resistance when you look back in the honesty of resisting as it does, it can be an honor to see it, to be aware of how resistant you might have been in the past and how did it help. That's the way that the Holy Spirit will use the past to learn, what was I afraid of? What did I battle so deeply for? I had a shamanic teacher when I was going through some stuff and I was laying down, and he came over and stood over while I was grappling with all the pain. And he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" And everything stopped. And he just walked away. What was I doing? I was wrestling. I was trying to get control. And when I look back on that trying to get control, it's like, boy, I could have had a lot more joy than that. But now is the moment. Now is the begin again moment, always. I had a begin again then. I had a begin again 2 days from then. I had a begin again, a begin again, and a begin again, and a begin again. And they all ran almost together, but it didn't matter. I was willing to begin again, eventually. Leave the caution behind. Leave the caution with the 20-year-old or the 30-year-old. You are held in love. You have every Every gift that God has to give is at your disposal. Because all that the universe wants is your remembering, just for your happiness. To fulfill your purpose to return home. God is trying to sell you something, and now you want to buy. Order it all, everything that God has to offer. Accept it all. You don't have to know what it looks like or how it works. There's nothing in the divine that has any element of pain or suffering or any discomfort. That is all self made. There is no pain in God. There is no suffering in God. Love is the purity of the universe beyond comprehension. But it's all you, it's all yours. And it's in the yes. Heal me of everything that I've made up. Take everything that I've made up. I don't even know what it is. I don't need to know what it is. If I made it up, you know what it is, and you can take it. I don't want it. When I first began to say that prayer, it scared me. Take everything. Take everything. That's nothing. And only the love will remain, because that's all that exists. Everything else I fabricate. I made up complete nightmares. Take everything.